sense of smell, or we call it olfaction. The organ of smell is epithelium. It's called olfactory epithelium, and it's lining the roof of the nasal cavity right here. The roof of the nasal cavity is made of the bone. It's a cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. Right under that roof, right under that ethmoid bone, inside of the nasal cavity, there are olfactory receptor cells. Those are bipolar neurons. They have dendrites and axons. Those axons, their bundles, are running all the way into the cranial cavity through the openings in the ethmoid bone, in the cribriform plate. Also in the epithelium, right here in the nasal cavity, there are supporting cells and tiny, small, you hardly can see them here, basal cells. So how it all works? Whenever we inhale some smell into our nasal cavity, there will be molecules. We call them odorants. Those molecules of smell, they stick to the mucus lining the surface of our epithelium in the nasal cavity, and they start bind to receptor proteins of those olfactory receptor cells. That causes depolarization, and action potential travels through the olfactory receptor cells, through their axons, and through the openings in the cribriform plate, all the way to the cranial cavity. In the cranial cavity, action potential switches from those olfactory receptor cells to the mitral cells. And mitral cells have very long axons. They form bundles or olfactory tract, and it becomes olfactory nerve. Olfactory nerves, number one, they run to their olfactory cortex, located in the temporal lobe of our brain. Also, signals will go to our hypothalamus and limbic system. Remember, those two structures are responsible for our emotions. So whenever we inhale a smell, we immediately know if we like it or not. That is olfactory pathway that starts from the dendrites of olfactory receptor cells and ends in the olfactory cortex of the temporal lobe. Please know this pathway, and also make sure you know all the pathways for all the special senses. The second special sense is gustation, or sense of taste. Organ of taste are taste buds located on the surface of the tongue. Visible structures on the surface of the tongue would be papilla. If you look at your tongue, it's not smooth. It has tiny structures called papilla. They can have different shape: fungiform papilla, filiform papilla, foliate papilla, and on those papillas, on their tops or on their sides, there will be even smaller structures called taste buds. Here is one of those taste buds. Inside you will find two types of cells: gustatory cells or taste cells, and also basal cells. Gustatory cells or taste cells have microvilli on their surface. That is the surface of their papilla, and right here there will be saliva. So saliva brings tiny particles of foods, and they will be acting on those microvilli. There are 5 basic tastes: sweet, sour, salt, bitter, and also umami, which is a taste of fresh meat. In order to be tasted, a chemical particle of our food must be first dissolved in saliva, then it runs to papilla and contacts our gustatory hairs, those tiny structures on the tops of our gustatory cells. That binding of the food chemical, we call it tastent, causes depolarization of the taste cell membrane, and action potential runs through the cell and then through the nerve. And there are two nerves that carry action potentials from our tongue, from different parts of it. Facial nerve number 7 and glossopharyngeal nerve number 9. They carry impulses from taste buds to the thalamus, and only after the thalamus, from the thalamus, they go to the gustatory cortex located in the insula, inner part of our brain. Hypothalamus and limbic system also will be informed, and we can like or dislike our food, appreciate its taste. Other sensations make influence on the taste a lot, especially smell. Some scientists even say that our taste is 80% made of smell. Also, in our mouth, we have thermoreceptors that can detect the temperature of our food, mechanoreceptors that can detect texture of our food, nociceptors, pain receptors in case we accidentally swallow something hot, they feel pain. And all of them influence tastes. Simple example. How temperature and texture influence the taste. Most of us love ice cream, that nice cold ice cream. But what happens to it if we leave it on the counter for an hour or so? It will melt. Now tell me, will you like your ice cream to be water-like, liquid and hot or warm? Probably not. That's how temperature and texture influence our taste.